Wow, my voice. Oof. Before I got on it, I sounded just like Pee Wee Herman. Usually my voice is really deep in the morning, but well, it sort of is deep, but it also is having a tendency to go up here.
I don't know. You sound the same to me until you start sounding like Pee Wee Herman.
Well, just a little constricted. I don't know what's going on.
By the way, that is a good spot-on impersonation of Pee Wee Herman.
I couldn't do it till today. Today's the first day.
So you're a newcomer to the impersonation.
Well, I mean, I'm sure I did it in middle school. Yeah, everyone did.
Yeah. I can't even do it. I don't even have the right tone in my voice.
I don't even got the right throat. Here we are,
and today's going to be really cool, man. We're interviewing the two founders of the Iowa Metal Underground, which we're going to get into more about what exactly it is. They book shows and they support, in particular, the local metal scene. And they're both in the two founders that we're going to be talking to, Luke Hougen and William Woodrow Hall, are both in fantastic bands themselves. And we're gonna talk to them about the upcoming Iowa Metal Underground Festival on August 3rd, and we'll get into more details about that. But one detail is that the Accelerativ Thrust are proud sponsors of this thing, and there are going to be some really cool bands on this thing. I mean, it is just jam-packed.
It's the best one, best show of the year.
Yeah, I mean, it really is up there for sure. I mean, especially if you're a fan of metal. I mean, and just judging on hearing like the Ill Omen Frontal Assault split, that has got to be like, you know, a good measure of how great these bands are all going to be. Because I'll tell you what, that Ill Omen Frontal Assault split called 10 Beer Plan, which we reviewed recently, is sick. Like one of the sickest like metal releases I've heard in a long time. And I'm not just saying that. It is straight up just amazing. So
yeah. Hey y'all.
Hey, what's going on?
What up? How we doing?
We're doing pretty good. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing good.
Well, awesome, man. So we have Luke Hougen, who we actually had Luke on the podcast before with his band Ill Omen. And then we have William Woodrow Hall.
Yes, sir.
Luke is from the band Ill Omen. And William, you are from Frontal Assault. Now,
yes, sir.
Are you the vocalist of Frontal Assault, or what do you do?
I do. Me and Anthony both split vocals, but I do bass and vocals. We kind of like split verses and stuff like that.
Awesome. Well, I'd like to start off by saying that split 10 Beer Plan is one of the sickest releases we've heard this year so far, man.
Thank you.
Really good. So you guys are the founders, correct me if I'm wrong, of Iowa Metal Underground. You guys are putting on one stacked show on August 3rd. Man, this thing is going to be stacked. You got Maul, of course, Frontal Assault and Ill Omen, Labyrinth, Pit Lord, Gaunt, Phantom Threat, the Muscatine Homies. We're familiar with them. Hanging Wound, False Providence, Ex Cathedra, Fungal Mass, and Brotherhood of the Mudcat, who I've heard of a lot of those bands. Sadly enough, I have not heard a lot of them, but I've heard of, I've seen Pit Lord play before. And man, it's going to be a totally exciting show, man.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Let's start off kind of talking about the history of the Iowa Metal Underground.
All right, yeah. I mean, I think about maybe a few months ago last year, my dad just randomly said, I booked you guys a show at the Olympic Theater in Cedar Rapids, which is a 500 cap room. And I was like, I mean, I guess if you're paying for it, we can try. But and then we kind of just put a show together with frontal assault, bovinophobic bile puddle, traffic debt, and
Toxic Messiah.
Yeah, Toxic Messiah. And we just that was our first show, and it went way. I mean, we promoted it as best we could, but it went way better than we ever thought it would. So, and it was probably the best show that we've ever played, just like crowd response and stuff like that, like stage diving, and it was an amazing show. So we decided to kind of just keep doing it and keep booking shows with me and my dad, Mark Hougen, and Frontal Assault. We then booked another show at a different place in Cedar Rapids, the CSPS Black Hole, and we did 2 shows there. And those both sold out because it was a smaller place, like 150 cap room. At the same time, we were thinking we need to do another one at the Olympic and make it like a whole festival, because Cedar Rapids doesn't have very many, original metal band, kind of like younger bands type shows. So we decided to make a whole festival out of it and we kind of just handpicked bands from across the country that we've played with, or Frontal Assault has played with. And they're just our favorite bands that are the best bands to see live. And we just put them all on one bill. And that's this show. Yeah.
That's awesome. So you guys literally just started this whole, would you consider it more of like a collective or like kind of a booking agency type thing?
I just call it a booking group because I don't want to call it an agency because we're never going to make people like sign stuff.
Yeah. I can understand that. The word agency does sound kind of off-putting, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, I don't want to tell people that and then them get scared and think they're going to have to like sign stuff or something.
Right,
like that.
Right. Yeah,
here's your pay to play or something.
Yep. I was just going to say that.
Nasty.
Yeah. That's awesome. You guys are bringing attention to the metal scene because, I mean, in all honesty, Erik and I, we started this podcast seeking out a lot of local music. And if it wasn't for you guys, I would have not even been aware that there were bands like this, making music in the local scene. So
and so many as well.
And so many of them. Yes, absolutely. And it's super exciting to see people your age just totally having the passion for it.
So in regards to that, there are a lot of metal bands around right now. Would you say that you noticed a bunch of bands, so you wanted to start kind of booking and putting them together, or did a lot of these bands come to your attention afterwards?
I would say because Frontal Assault's been around for a little bit longer than Illumin has. I would say one of the first times that we like got out of Iowa and stuff and started getting to play around a little bit, just realized that there is a really wide array of bands, just kind of around the Midwest scene and stuff like that. And then last year when Luke's dad told us he booked us at the Olympic or whatever, pretty much told us to book the show. That's when I kind of started like searching farther and stuff for cooler bands to put on shows and stuff like that. Because I knew right after the first one that we were going to want to do more than just one show and stuff like that. And then it's kind of grown to the point now where we're trying to put on like festivals and stuff like that. And I don't know, like he was saying, it's been a bunch of bands that we've met or kind of know about from around the Midwest and stuff.
What I would say is like, I think we saw like a good quantity of really good live bands, just like in our shows that we've been playing. Yeah. And I mean, it's really not that many, maybe like 5 to 10 around here that like we think are really good. But then we were just thinking like none of these shows happen in Cedar Rapids. Really just the lack of shows in Cedar Rapids that made us want to do it.
Yeah, that's definitely the main thing. There's gonna be some new upcoming death metal bands coming up that we're gonna be putting on some shows here soon. That we're pretty excited about. A band called Liquefied Decomposition. The guitarist from old guitarist from Mutilated by Zombies is a part of that band. And from what I've heard and stuff, it's really sick. And then there's this like kind of slammy band from Sioux Falls coming out called Desecration. And we'll hopefully be getting both of those bands on a show coming soon. Sioux City. Yeah, Sioux City. Yeah.
It's kind of the cool thing, though. Iowa hasn't really had a huge metal scene, or at least a cohesive one, especially in Iowa City. Like, it's maybe the most non-metal town in the world as far as I'm concerned. But like, there's a lot of crossover into the hardcore or whatever. You get pretty heavy, but as far as just metal, so there's no question here. I'm just saying that's awesome that you guys have been able to pull out of this together and show that it's a scene. You know what I mean? That it exists. Because when it's one band here and all around the state or around the Midwest, it's like that doesn't seem cohesive, but you guys made it that way. So
thank you.
I think a big part of that is just playing other, like, if you have a band, you really need to play other towns. Besides, because like we're just friends with all these bands from across the state and across the Midwest pretty much. And that just really helps. Even if there's not that many bands in one specific town, you can build a scene through the whole state or a certain area.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned that this kind of came out of noticing that there wasn't really like a metal scene in Cedar Rapids. And so you guys cultivated one, kind of like making something out of nothing sort of situation.
Yeah.
So was there ever like, in your estimation, you guys both grew up in Cedar Rapids, right?
Yeah, I've lived here my whole life.
Was there ever any sort of inkling of a music scene at all in Cedar Rapids?
Yeah, most definitely.
Okay. And so it was just not metal, and you guys kind of felt like a need to focus on that then.
Well, right when we kind of like started it, we were like just seeing the tail end of and we started back in 2016. Right when we kind of started, we were seeing like the tail end of the metal scene in Cedar Rapids. I'd say it really died off in probably around late 2017, early 2018. My dad's band, Brotherhood of the Mudcat, who's on the festival.
That's your dad's band. Wow.
Yeah. We were talking about generation stuff earlier. I mean, that was kind of the whole reason I wanted to get them on here. They told me that they're getting back together and playing like some shows or whatever. And I just really wanted to get them on the festival to kind of show people how it's evolved. Because they weren't like straight metal. They're kind of like punky crossover type of feel. They're really cool though. Totally fit in with kind of like the thrash metal vibe of the show here. But they were around for a long time, well before I was even born. And he's just been keeping that thing going and going and going. So when they told me that they were going to play a couple shows this year or whatever, I was like, yeah, we definitely got to get you on the festival. But back to what I was saying with like around 2017, 2018 is really when the Cedar Rapids metal scene took a big hit and kind of died off. Because there's so many bands around that time just like broke up, and like we were one of the only metal bands in Cedar Rapids for a long time, really until Luke with Ill Omen kind of came around, and then we were like, okay, this is cool. And then ever since they started coming to our shows and we like seen them, we've pretty much just been best friends with them.
Right when we started, there was like, that's when the scene it felt dead to us. Really, there was no metal shows in Cedar Rapids, really.
We gave up on it for a while.
Maybe there was like 3 or 4 bands, but they really weren't around our age demographic, our vibe or anything. So, but we found Frontal Assault eventually, just because they were playing in Iowa City all the time, and then we kind of just were like, well, I guess we're just going to be a part of the Iowa City scene, and then now we're like, let's just try to make something here, so we don't have to go down to Iowa City I love Iowa City. I go in there after this probably. Like, I'm going to drive 30 minutes every day.
No, for real.
Have fun.
Yeah. Because, Iowa City's always got shows going on and stuff. And like you guys are saying, it's a lot of hardcore and stuff like that. But, I don't mind listening to that stuff at all.
Yeah.
I'll go see it. I'll go see a show like that or whatever. You just got to support however you can. But we're always kind of preaching, telling people, start a band. Like, please start a metal band.
Yeah. Right. Oh, you're starting a band? Make it metal.
Make it metal.
Yeah.
So that's awesome that your families are supportive, like.
Oh, if it weren't for my dad,
that's pretty amazing.
I probably would never started. Like, my dad gave me all my first stuff. He gave me my first bass, my amp, all that stuff. Super, super thankful for him.
See, I thought I got into metal just by myself, but then apparently my dad is now claiming that he was showing me going rock when I was 3 years old.
He's planting the seed, bro.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, that's amazing to have that support, though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Like-
that's got to be awesome having your dad's band play on the festival.
That's sick.
And,
Oh, it's really cool.
yeah, and
It's really cool.
I've heard of them. Like I've definitely seen their name around, so I knew they've been around for a while.
Yeah, they've been around for a long ass time.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. One of the things that I really appreciate about what you guys are doing in particular is the style. Both bands, Frontal Assault and Ill Omen, and a lot of these bands on this festival have an updated metal sound. And Luke, we kind of touched on this when we had you on interviewing Ill Omen, but you guys are also very much like paying homage to a lot of like forefathers of modern
sure.
metal.
Yeah.
You know, like you guys, I mean, even reading your influences, you guys are into everything from Metallica to Slayer to, I think one of the members, if I'm not mistaken, of Ill Omen said Dark Throne was a big influence.
That's definitely Curtis.
Now, is this the first Iowa Metal Underground festival that's taken place?
It's the first one we'll call like a festival for sure. I mean, we were just talking to some bands last night about this. Is like we keep having to put on such big shows because of like we need a lot of people there for them to actually be successful and stuff. And hopefully after this festival, we'll, be possibly looking at a venue or something like that, so we can do more consistent shows, like have them like a couple times a month and stuff like that.
Or just like if anyone in Cedar Rapids has a basement that's open.
Yeah, we'll do that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite shows we've ever played have been in venues like that, in like basements, small little tiny like back rooms of businesses and stuff like that. So if any business or anybody wants to give us a room to use, please hit us up.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's got to be businesses in Cedar Rapids or buildings that are just sitting vacant in Cedar Rapids, right?
I tried getting Nate from Edge Escape to let us use the front of his shop for it, but his wife Lindsay came down from her office instantly and was like, no,
Ain't no way.
I was like, I get it. You don't want to get your shop all messed up or whatever. I totally get it.
Yeah.
But everything in a skate shop's designed to be destroyed. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. I would love to do that, or a gas station or something like that. I would so do that. Yeah, I'd so put on a show at a Casey's. That'd be so sick.
Yeah, Casey's that would be the most Iowa thing ever.
Yes, it would.
Yeah, showing Casey's. And they say we don't have culture here.
Yeah, no,
damn.
Man,
like eating pizza for breakfast, man. Come on.
You guys should, no kidding, right? You guys should see if you could put on the next festival at a Casey's.
Like a truck stop one, a big one or something like that. That'd be fun.
Casey's Fest.
Yeah, Casey's Fest. Yeah, Casey's
I would
Fest.
too. Yeah, for real. There's food and stuff there already. Like, come on, that's a perfect.
Yeah.
The merch crossover would be sick.
Yeah, that totally would be. Yeah. So you guys have mentioned that you kind of came across a lot of these bands just playing shows. Have you guys toured much, like outside of Iowa, or?
We just got done with an East Coast tour, like a 2-week East Coast tour, like a month ago or something like that. And it was really fun. It was with our boys in Illusion Fate. Shout out them. They're an awesome black metal, like kind of black and death band. They're the most energy you will ever see from a black metal band live. They're awesome. They're all really great dudes too. Their bassist and drummer is also part of Casket Robbery, which is just finishing up a tour. I think they only got 3 or 4 more dates on it, but that one was like 3 weeks long. It was with Gorgatron and Vorath.
Sweet.
Like we've only done like little kind of weekenders outside of the state, just in like we got one coming up in like Chicago and St. Louis and Madison. That's the only we haven't done like a full like over a week tour.
Yeah, we've done probably 3 or 4 runs, and then that tour that I was just speaking of was our first like actual tour. We went all the way to Cranston, Rhode Island was the farthest point away from home. It was so sick. Met a lot of cool bands. Definitely seen a handful of not awesome bands too. That comes with the territory with like a first tour out like that. That was really just making connections and stuff, but it went surprisingly well. There's really good turnouts at a lot of the shows. Albany, New York was one of the sickest venues I've ever been to. It's called the Empire Underground. there's just this big basement underneath a theater that actually did have a really good stage and sound system, and it was ran by a couple of old school New York hardcore guys and stuff, and it was really cool.
That's cool. Have you found your stuff to be well received outside of Iowa?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, like, it really did, because like people are always gonna like our, you know, like our classic like beer thrash songs and stuff like that. But like,
right,
it's kind of what we're trying to, you know, go away from right now. We're trying to get more like progressive in our sound with like kind of like vector type sound and stuff like that. It was just weird chords and jazzy feel and all sorts of stuff like that. It's what we're really getting into.
Sweet.
Yeah, I feel like personally, a lot of the shows that we played outside of Iowa have been better than most of the shows we played inside of Iowa.
Yeah, sadly. But
yeah, but then that's why we need to be doing this.
Yeah, exactly.
Case in point, man. Yeah.
In my opinion, Ill Omen is probably going to be better received than we will with like where we're kind of going with our newer stuff. But like we just want to write stuff that we like enjoy and want to listen to, and it's not trying to be like stroking my bone here, but like it's definitely a little bit weirder than what most people are gonna like listen to. So like if you have a new ear to metal and stuff like that, you might not like our stuff as much. You're definitely gonna like the Loman stuff more though, because it's definitely on the more like old school thrash metal side and like Sepultura type stuff.
I recently got really into like Sepultura and Sodom and all those like death thrash type bands that we already kind of sounded like that, obviously.
Yeah.
I've just been getting more and more into that stuff, and obviously I love death metal too. So
yeah,
but I think it's just like E standard, but sort of play death metal at the same time, and it kind of gives that vibe of like late '80s, like death thrash stuff. Yeah. I think that's the coolest stuff for me.
Back when like a few years ago, I don't know, like 4 or 5 years ago, we were really getting into that type of stuff, and we were like almost a death metal band with a few of our songs. But I don't know, just like kind of recently, we've just been getting way more into like. There's this great band called Nuclear Tomb, and they call themselves Weirdo Thrash, and I definitely resonate with that. Yeah, they're awesome. They're from like Baltimore, I'm pretty sure. I seen a bunch of their flyers out while we were out there because they're like going on a run right as we were heading back home.
Awesome. It's pretty cool. You were talking about playing just places around here, St. Louis, you know, Chicago. I've always thought it was really cool where we're at in that sense, you know, like we can 100%. Hit a bunch of places and then come back. Yeah. But the other cool thing too is if you create a hub here, all those people playing there will come through here too. So it's like, I don't know, symbiotic. I don't know the right word. It goes both ways.
I mean, we're already kind of seeing that. Like, Gaunt from Chicago is playing this show that we're doing, and it's just from them playing in Chicago with them, and then they were really cool, so they got them to come play this show.
One of the craziest pits I've ever seen in one of our shows was with Gaunt at the Ashbury Coffee House. Downstairs is like this cute little coffee house, and upstairs is like this old school ballroom, and it is so sick. It's like checkered floor and stuff too, and it was the most violent I've ever seen a pit while we're playing. I mean, it was like. It was so sick. It's like this room no bigger than my basement, really, and it's just people flying around, bouncing off each other, like literally hanging from stuff on the roof, and it was insane. It's so awesome.
So yeah, I kind of want to touch a little bit on the 10 beer plan split a little bit, because as I said, that is seriously just one of the sickest things. We also reviewed that Ill Omen record a few months back, or maybe that was like a year ago or something, before we interviewed the band. Yeah, I don't even remember. You'd be surprised at what I mess up these days. But anyway, in my estimation, man, I think the Ill Omen side got even more like grittier, even more just in your face, but also more technically proficient, in my opinion. And then the frontal assaults, I mean, you just slap me with a frontal assault. Like, that's like the perfect name, man. Like, it was so freaking good.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So what led you guys to do the split in the first place? I mean, I assume you guys
were a long time coming.
Yeah.
It was a long time coming. It took way too long to get it out. It should have been out a long time ago. It probably would have been a little bit different, but I'm not like upset with how long it took getting out, because it came out just how we wanted it to. And I mean, yeah, I mean, we've been friends for like 2-3 years now. Like I said, as soon as we met these guys and we started playing shows with them, I mean, they just became our best friends. Because I mean, they're for a long time, even right now, there's not many thrash metal bands other than our two bands. But I mean, well, I call them our brothers in thrash, because I mean, I really mean it. These guys are our dogs. I mean, road dogs for real. They're everything you want in an old school thrash metal band. And I mean, it made perfect sense for, you know, the two thrash metal bands in Iowa to do a split together, and came out great. We were super happy with it.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like the story of the split is like literally right when we started playing shows with each other in like 2022, right after Hazardous to All came out for Frontal Assault.
Yeah.
We were already talking about it. We were already talking about it with Grim Night Productions.
Yeah.
Like, we should do a split. And then we already had the plans to record our debut album. So we did that first.
Yeah.
And then we kind of, the reason why those songs kind of sound like more stripped down, but also a little bit crazier, is because we kind of wrote that, like, before we even released March of Decay, we started writing those songs. We're just like, all right, let's write 3 songs for the split real quick, because we thought it was going to come out a lot sooner, but it did not end up happening like that. But Curtis, our guitarist, was like, all right, here's all my ideas that I kind of already have for songs. And the way he writes is the super technical, like shreddy, like crazy, you don't know where the fuck it's going kind of riffs, which is kind of what it ended up being. And then I guess I kind of had the third song, Power of the Sun. I did most of that one.
Song is so sick.
And then he like contributed riffs to it. And same thing with Born to Die, I contributed some riffs to that. But so that's why it was kind of just like the fastest we've ever wrote songs. Because, you know, the first album, like, you know, they say like the first album you got your whole life to write, and then the second album you got to write in the next year or whatever. So like it was just a lot quicker of a writing process, and so it kind of it just turned out differently than the first album, because we had some of those songs for 5 years before we did that one. You know, so I think that's why it was different. And we also we recorded it in less time because it was only 3 songs, and it was kind of just more of a stripped back thing. We did 2 guitars instead of 3. And it was just kind of a more, honestly, both of them were rushed in the studio, but that's just how it is with money, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it just turned out a little more raw, but also I think it sounds better because we just learned from the mistakes in the previous recording, and we went back and remixed it before it came out too. So
we mix and record all of our stuff here in the basement. Frontal Assault does, and we lost those songs like at least 2 times, just because my computer is just being a total complete piece of shit. And it got a little frustrating and wanted to like give up and shit. And it was just like, you know, just power through it. We'll get it out, and we'll be happy with it. And it, you know, I'm a little glad it took as long as it did, because I was able to like really work on the bass lines and stuff a lot more with Anthony, just sitting down and like trying to make them as crazy as possible, trying to make them as like fun as possible for me, because I like challenging myself as much as I like humanly can with every single new song, just trying to make it more and more crazy every single time.
As far as subjects go in songs, do you guys like, I don't know, do you just find some metal like tried and true subject matter wise, or do you try to think outside the box and get kind of weird and esoteric? Or
we're all about like weird alien and sci-fi and space shit, and like writing stuff about like beaming technology. I mean, it literally is just about a gigantic laser beam that like is that's like is taking over the universe and shit, and like blowing stuff up, and like, I mean, that's like the bare bones explanation of it or whatever. But like where we're going with all of our stuff is all like gonna get more like weird sci-fi, like planet stuff, like saving the Earth and stuff like that. And like, I don't know, we just like really have been getting into like weird sci-fi stuff, because mainly because of the bands we've been listening to and stuff like that. But it's also really fun to like research that stuff and like, you know, to make your own, like get your own takeaways from it and stuff like that.
So as far as songwriting process, I'm sure both of your groups are really different. but what does that look like for both of you?
So like, for me and Anthony, we'll pretty much get like come up with riff ideas, record them on our phone or something like that, and then bring it to practice, show Kyle, our drummer, and we'll kind of just start working it. We'll take it riff by riff, and we'll just work it until we like that riff, and then we'll like, okay, what would be cool to come after this? Pretty much. It's not the craziest writing process ever. It's just really, record riffs that, pop in our head from time to time, bring it to practice, and then take it from there. And then, as we go to record it, we might change certain things, stuff like that. It's pretty simple for us. It's really cut and dry, real easy because we all live together.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And we're all brothers and stuff. So like, literally, like Anthony could be up in his room. I'd be like, hey, come downstairs, trying to figure something out, or like it's pretty simple and easy because we're around each other all the time.
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's sometimes it's kind of a lot of the riffs we're doing now, or like some of the like my favorite ones that from the first record are just, it's like at rehearsal, someone will just be randomly playing stuff like before we start playing our songs for the show or whatever, and a riff will just come out and it's like, hey, wait a second,
That's cool.
yeah, play that again, and then we all come in on it, and then usually then we take that one riff and then we write, like either Curtis or I write a more riff. It's usually Curtis, and then sometimes I come in there with kind of like a pre-written song, like just every once in a while, like maybe 2 or 3 on the record. And then sometimes I'll have like kind of a bass intro and then we'll finish the song from there.
Yeah. So neither of your groups, is there like a key songwriter that just brings in the songs and says, okay, this is what you play or whatever?
I mean, I think it's definitely Curtis for us who writes most of the material.
Yeah, it's Anthony for us.
But it's still more of a democratic process for us. It's like, and then it's not like I can't write a song. It's like he's, first of all, better at writing songs than me, and then second of all, he just can write more songs than me. He's been doing this way longer than I have, and I especially when we first started, like I think in the last like 2 years is the only time where I ever could write a song.
It's
like I just wasn't good enough
for me too. It's like just watching like how Anthony does it and stuff. Like I'll ask him questions all the time about like, how do you like do this? Like how do you like what happens in your brain for you to be able to do this or whatever, and like he breaks it down for me and stuff like that. So I've been learning from him on how to have my own say in like writing riffs and stuff, because I want to be able to write riffs as proficiently as Anthony does, but it takes time. I just don't have the I don't know, the knack for it that he does. But I'm getting better with it, and I'm learning more how to write cool things that actually fit in with our band. Because for a while, that was kind of the issue, is like I'd write riffs and like it just wouldn't really like fit or stick with anything that we were trying to do. But now I'm kind of now that we're actually heading more towards where my forte was for a long time with like jazz stuff, I'm getting it's a lot easier for me to write stuff.
For sure.
For me, it's like both of us are bass players. So I feel like for this type of music, it's kind of the guitar, like the guitar player kind of needs to write the riff, because that is definitely the main focus of the song most of the time. So it's like I could write a bass line, but then Curtis has to write the riff. Yeah. Like it's not like it's going to be the exact same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That's another thing in both of the recordings, the bass, you can really hear the bass. It's really prominent in the music, and that's becoming more and more common in metal too, and I love that.
Yeah, people are ready to hear the bass.
Yeah, they're ready to hear that.
The real reason, like this last record for us, like the bass is so much like louder or whatever, is because I was a lot more confident and proud with my bass lines that I was able to write. Like I was saying, because our shit crashed and we had to redo it so many times, I was able to keep coming back to the bass lines and like restructuring them and like fixing certain parts I might have not been 100% happy with before. So I was just really, really proud of where the bass was on this record. And also the like tone, the amps we were using were like cut through the mix way more than anything that we've ever used before. So even if it would have been like quieter in the mix, you still would have been able to hear it real well because of the like amps and stuff we were using.
Yeah, I think like we record at Flat Black Studios down in Lone Tree or Hills or wherever it is. And I'm always the one that kind of like, because Luke Tweedy, he doesn't call himself a producer. He's an engineer, and he lets you do whatever the hell you want to your record, which, personally, I think that can go really bad sometimes. And you have to be good at producing. I think I've gotten slightly better, like, because you got to produce your own record. And that's kind of been my role in the studio. Most of the time is kind of making sure all the performances are as best they can be. And like during the mixing process, like what's going to be slightly louder or whatever, like if we have mix notes. So I think, that's part of the reason why the bass is loud is because I'm the bassist and I'm producing it or whatever.
Yeah, nice.
But that's like, I think we all agree that like when you listen to Metallica and even Megadeth, sometimes Slayer, especially back in the 80s, like Rain and Blood, like it sucks when you can't hear the bass. Like I want to hear the bass.
Bass players were robbed on Injustice for All.
For sure.
It's so sad because I'm a bass player and that's my favorite Metallica.
Right. Yeah. That was
only be
a long time.
Better. Yeah. It would only be way better.
It would be better. Yeah. So that's why it's like, I think, we need to have bass on metal records, and especially our records. We're more inspired by like Nuclear Assault for that. Cause like those type of bands where the bass is like kind of like clicky, it's not exactly the tone I'm going for, but it's very cool that you can hear it very loud in the mix. And especially I'm especially inspired by Rush, and that's a bass driven band. So that's we call it the Rush mix if your bass is too loud,
Nice.
Well, here's another thing about us is that everyone in our band has played bass at some point.
Okay. Nice.
So that's another reason why we all think the bass is one of the most important instruments that needs to be audible.
Didn't Curtis play upright?
Curtis played upright, and in jazz bass in high school he played just like electric bass, and then Caleb played bass in a few like bands when he was in high school as well. So it's like
I played upright for like 7
and
years.
I've only ever been in this band, but I've also I've played bass for however many years or whatever.
Well, it's nice to have some people in it that get it. Like, unfortunately, a lot of times it's like, oh, you're just the guitar player not playing chords or whatever. And it's like, so to have people that understand that's phenomenal.
Sometimes what I try to do is, because we only have one guitarist, both of our bands only have one guitarist, but it's like you kind of have to fill at least live, you have to fill the void of not having another guitarist, in my opinion. It's like you got to play crazier and louder than you ever would have had to play if there was two guitarists in the band. So it's like I'm playing chords like 25% of the time, like I'm doing crazy shit. Like
once it goes to the guitar solo, like there's a lot of space that needs
bass
supported.
For sure.
I thought that like I always thought it was way more raw sounding when it was a trio like that, like it drops to the solo and then it's like, whoa, this is kind of like, I don't even like skeletal in a way. It's not,
I think we need to do that more often, because when we do solos on the record, like at the beginning of the band, we kind of just decided like we're gonna put as many guitars on this as we want to, and not just be limited by like not try to make it a live thing, even though it kind of like our records don't sound overly produced or anything whatsoever. But we just decided like let's just record two guitars and like have harmonies still, and then live we'll figure out what we're gonna do later. So but I think it would be cool at some points on the record to just have bass and drums while the solo is going. Like Pantera does that.
Parts, 100%. Pantera does do that. There's definitely certain parts where it fits, and then certain parts where, like, on the recording, you definitely
it sounds better with the guitar.
For sure.
I definitely do a lot of like melodies and counter melodies, like you were talking about, live and in the recordings, and that's just because like I try to like make up for as much of the missing like rhythm guitar that you would have that because we're a 3-piece or whatever. So I try to do as much as possible to fill in any space that would be left out because of us not having two guitars.
Yeah, and we have very different styles of bass too between the two bands. Like it's completely different. Like I fill the space by playing chords and like playing the bass like a guitar, and then he fills it in by doing crazy stuff like and slapping and just like not playing what the guitar is playing. So it's two different approaches that I think both work.
And that's also like what I feel too. It totally makes sense, William, that Frontal Assault, that one of your favorite bands would be Suicidal Tendencies in that regard too, because that's definitely the type of style that like Robert Trujillo would do.
Yeah, I was going to say Robert
day.
Trujillo is one of my biggest influences when I was like a young bass player, just getting into it. Just because mainly all the really cool bands that he's been a part of, Infectious Groove, Suicidal, obviously Metallica in his later days and stuff like that. And I mean, he's been in so many really, really cool projects, and he's always pushing the boundaries and limits of what metal bass can be with his different techniques and stuff. I mean, because I use a lot of like flamenco style strumming, and I got that all from Robert Trujillo. And he's just a phenomenal metal bass player. And like I was saying, he just pushes the boundaries of really what metal bass can be and what it should be, in my opinion.
So I have a question kind of rolling back to the festival and just sort of the IMU in particular. Sorry, I'm using the abbreviation here.
No, but, we do that too. Yeah.
But have you guys noticed since and I guess you kind of already touched upon this, but have you noticed since you guys started doing this, have you noticed like an uptick in like young metal bands like in Cedar Rapids? Because I know you're bringing
not in Cedar Rapids.
Yeah,
not in Cedar Rapids. Okay,
we're still working on it.
Like around and stuff. I mean, totally. But like, that's what we want
I don't know how much of it has hit yet. I mean, we've only been doing it for like a year.
Yeah.
And like, but there are a lot of younger people that come to our shows and definitely like play guitar and stuff. So hopefully they'll be inspired. Like, it's just showing that you can do it in Iowa. Like, you know, like,
and it's feel like people think they're limited because we're in Iowa, but no, there's such a large untapped market that people don't really realize. And that's what we're really trying to show.
You know, the real problem is that no one plays the freaking drums.
Yeah,
play the drums.
Massive,
I don't even care if it's loud.
Issue.
Annoy your neighbors.
Yeah,
like play the drums, please.
Yeah, that has always been an issue with local music. The drums are always the hardest person to find.
It's always one guy in 8 different bands.
Kyle, our drummer,
that's
played
true.
Played guitar for his entire life until like 2016 when we started. I mean, he was in marching band and played snare and bass drum in marching band, and he was in like show band as well, like through middle school and into high school. But when we like finally started getting like the actual lineup together for our band, we were just like, Kyle, you're gonna have to buy a drum set and you're gonna have to play drums, buddy.
Yeah, I think literally if you play guitar, quit.
Yeah, no, for real. There's too many guitars, man. Too many guitars.
True.
Too many guitarists and vocalists, man. We need more drummers.
And I think that's why we have all the music that's like coming out of like smaller scenes is like completely digital.
Yeah.
And like because there's no one that plays the drums, so you can't have a band.
Like you can't blame Desecration for using a drum machine because they're literally from was it Sioux City or
that new band from Sioux City. They don't have a drummer because there's no one that can play the drums.
With like spewing, we have to use a drum machine just like Pit Lord does too, because Kyle was like, I'm not playing drums in this. I want to play guitar in something. They're like, all right, bro.
No, there's no one else.
They're like, we get it, man. Do your thing. We'll just do the drum machine. Like, it's all right.
Yeah.
So anyone who's playing drums who isn't in a band, get a hold of us. And
literally, if you're a drummer, it is.
And then if you're a band looking for a drummer,
thing to find a band.
Oh yeah,
right. Yeah, I know from experience, some real assholes can get into bands on drums.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Just because they play the drums. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like we'll deal with it if you can even halfway remotely play what we're trying to do.
The only one that can do this in a 50-mile radius.
Yeah, dude.
That's the balance, you know.
Yeah.
Super asshole, super drummer, and then you kind of have to find. Yeah.
So did you guys have a list of bands that like kind of like a wish list when you guys thought, okay, we're going to do a festival?
Yeah. And we still do, and it's changing all the time, and we're adding bands like all the time too. Like I a few days ago I wrote a short wish list for next year if we do.
I'm trying to get Putrid Stew.
Yeah, Putrid Stew.
That's an awesome name, Putrid Stew.
Yeah, they're like a grindcore. Are they grindcore?
They're like They're like,
grind.
yeah, but they're like slammy at the same time.
Slammy, yeah.
They're
Yeah.
so bad.
It's
If you haven't
the
heard
drummer
of them,
from Sang with
Haven't.
Superbug.
yeah,
Yeah.
if you haven't heard of them, you got to check them out. Putrid Stew is
Sweet.
so good.
Yeah, but
I
we're always trying to get bigger bands to come through too.
Yeah.
Like the kind of medium-sized band. This is what I was telling to the guy who runs CSPS too. Is like the kind of medium-sized band, which is a venue in Cedar Rapids. The medium-sized bands that will play at Woolies in Des Moines or Wildwood in Iowa City have no for metal have no place to play in Cedar Rapids, and I want to bring those type of bands through because I think that would be awesome.
Yeah.
That would be really cool.
Not only for my own selfish desires, so I can see them, but like also because people around here.
Yeah, people around here don't have to travel like hours to go see a band. Like,
Right.
Like I said earlier, man, I still got to do my research as far as checking out all these bands besides Ill Omen, Phantom Threat.
Right.
And it just looks like
there's a really cool playlist that Nathan Long out of Des Moines put out that just has all the newer songs from all these bands out.
Nice.
I think if you just type in like N Long into Spotify, it should come up.
Okay.
And then Iowa Metal Underground Prep, I think is what it's called. Like that's the playlist. Just has all the new songs from all these bands and like and it's I've been listening to it a little bit, but
it's a good playlist.
Yeah, it's a good playlist.
I'll have to check that out because man, this it
I can
does
send
look
it to
really
you for
exciting.
sure. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you very much. I would appreciate that. But I plan on being there on August 3rd.
Awesome.
Don't miss it, man.
Yeah. Thank you for sponsoring it as well.
Yeah,
like that helps us a lot.
Thanks for asking us.
We just really want we just need a little buffer just in case like the show doesn't go as well as we think it's gonna go. And so we can we love to one of our main goals is to pay the bands a fair amount for every show.
Yeah.
So like the lowest people are getting paid on this is guaranteed $150, which is kind of unheard of for a metal show.
Yeah.
At least at our level, we've got paid $150 like 3 times to play a show, and we played 40 shows. So, and that wasn't guaranteed. That was just the show did well, so you get more money. And it was some of those were like we're playing with like not the bigger bands because the bigger bands you have to pay to play to get on those shows or sell tickets or whatever.
Right.
But like bands that are just really popular, like but not our type of music, we've opened for some of those type of bands in Iowa City. Like Dolliver is a cool band in Iowa City that they're more like pop rock, like stuff like that, like kind of classic rock too. They're really cool. But we opened for them and we got $150. But for our type of music, we aren't ever getting $150, and that's the lowest we're paying any.
It's just because like all the overhead costs with like metal shows, like metal shows is really tough.
And shout out to the Olympic because they do not make us pay a lot of money either. So they're really cool. They're really cool.
They really hook us up. I think it's because they know the amount of liquor sales they'll get coming through.
Yeah. I think it speaks to your character, both of you guys, that you guys are booking this show and ensuring that the bands are going to get paid and that you guys are really just putting forth the passion into like doing this. And you guys are obviously not doing it for any other desire than the passion for it. It's like,
wouldn't be doing this if I didn't like it. Like
exactly.
The amount of stress that goes into like putting together something.
This has been like the craziest thing that I've ever personally done. Like it's the most amount of work to anything, at least for like a hobby. Like it's like I gotta we all have jobs besides this, obviously. So it's like for a hobby, this is the most amount of work I put into any like one day, like, you gotta work like
planning this
500 hours to put on one show for one day, but like whatever.
It's worth it. It's 100% worth it. I'm so excited and so happy that this is like looking to turn out how it's going to.
It's looking good. We couldn't do it without like my dad. He's it's kind of like the people who run Iowa Metal Underground are him, me, and my dad. Because he kind of started it. He was like, "Hey, I booked you a show at the Olympic. Good luck." I'm like, "All right, we'll do it." And we just.
I remember when you guys. I have to stop that shit.
You were like,
I was like, dude, what the fuck do you mean? There's a show booked at the Olympic, and you're putting me in charge of this shit.
Yeah. It was like. Yeah, it's like we need bands, and I know you know bands.
Yeah, I was like, all right, man.
And but it's like we couldn't guarantee the band's money without him because he's kind of sacrificing his own money just to fucking kind of let us do this. and we haven't lost on our previous shows. We haven't lost, maybe like one show we lost like $20 but we pretty much broke even. But the other two shows we made money off of. So it's like, so far, so good. So what is what I would say about that.
Yeah,
Nice.
That's a pretty decent Megadeth record.
Yeah.
It's a decent one. Man, hats off to you guys for doing this whole thing though. Like,
Yeah, thank you.
I think it's an amazing thing to take on. I always love the story of, like, this is going to sound kind of silly, but the story of the underdog who's sort of just like, okay, I don't see something happening, I'm going to take it on, you know? And I think that's precisely what you guys are doing, and you guys are trying, and you're doing way more than, you know, I can say for myself. Of course, I'm 43. I would have no business doing this.
I can barely move.
Yeah, I can barely move. Exactly.
My dad's 50 something. I don't even know, 54 or something.
Your dad is literally such
and
wow.
You know, I mean, if you're like, it's kind of like what you guys are doing, just put the funding towards it. If you're like, you know, like, like help these kids out, you know?
Yeah.
For sure.
Nice.
And you guys have to have two of the coolest parents in the universe.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
I mean,
100%.
you got a dad who booked a show for you, Luke, and you got a dad who's in a band, William.
Yeah.
I mean, what more can you ask for?
Right. Yeah.
So with all that being said, what are your future goals for it?
Like I was kind of saying, definitely a venue, because I want to put on more than like one show every 4 months and stuff like that.
Right.
So like just a venue that will let us do stuff, and that will be like cordial and you know, understanding of what we're trying to bring through and see what we're trying to do,
And not make a signed contract.
Yeah.
and try to get us signed clauses and all sorts of stupid shit. But like just a venue where we can put on more than one show every 4 months, try to get like more consistent with what we're doing. And also, I mean, just keep inspiring young musicians and stuff like that to get out there and start metal bands.
Well, I think, Luke, William, this was a fantastic conversation. And
this is
man,
really fun.
Everyone listening, please go August 3rd to the Iowa Metal Underground Fest. I can't believe that I just, for a quick second, it just slipped my mind. The Iowa Metal Underground
we
Fest.
Shout out the link for it too. The ticket link is iowametalunderground.bandcamp.com. It's only $20. I mean, there's some fees involved with that, so it's really like 24 something. But like,
you can also get tickets.
Yeah, just DM us and we'll send you one for actually $20, so we don't have to pay Bandcamp and PayPal money.
Yeah.
But there's multiple ways to buy tickets. A lot of the bands in this area have tickets to sell as well. So like Pit Lord hit them up, Phantom Threat hit them up, Fungal Mass, like all of them have. And then Illum and Infernal Assault, obviously. Like, just please come to the show, buy your tickets, and it's going to be amazing, I think. So
And
Saturday,
don't forget
August 3rd.
Saturday, August 3rd. The music starts at 3 p.m., right?
Yeah.
3 p.m.
Well, actually, I think that's the doors.
I think
that's the doors.
Starts like
3:30.
Yeah,
3:30.
3:30.
Get there at 3, please. Get there.
And
check out the merch stands.
Brotherhood of the Mudcat is going to be kicking things off, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
I will be doing I will be doing vocals on a song.
Oh, let's go.
Cool.
Oh, wow.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
That's an announcement.
Yeah. Make sure you get there by 3:30 to see William
This is
jam
also
with
the
his
type
dad.
of show.
Yeah, exactly.
This is the type of show where anyone could be doing vocals on any song. So literally just jump on the stage. Like, let's have a hardcore vibe to it as well. Just
There you
jump
go.
on stage,
Heck
yell,
yeah.
and then jump off the stage.
Yeah, no.
Like, you can do
Into
what
it.
you want.
Absolutely.
It'll be fun,
And also don't forget to load up the Spotify and check out the Iowa Metal Underground playlist, man. And check out all these bands before you go to the show, because I guarantee if Ill Omen and Frontal Assault and, like I said, Phantom Threat is any indication of how great this whole festival is going to be, it's going to be amazing. So
yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for being with us.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. We'll see you August 3rd. Yeah.
All right.
See you on August 3rd.
absolutely. You guys have a great day, man.
Yep.
All right. Yeah. See you.
See ya.
See ya.
Thank you. Literally, if you play guitar, quit.